Hello and welcome to my channel, Soul Ring Art. My name is Rachel, and this month I'll be working with Robyn McClendon's May printables. Her printables this month are called Documents and Doorways. And so if you're curious how I create this, stick around. The details on where and how to download these printables can be found in the description box. Also, please check out my other Gelli teammates and their videos. Okay, step one, gather supplies. Always my favorite part of the process. I love all the supplies. Okay, so this is what we're going to use. We're going to use this Atelier Interactive Artist acrylic in the color indigo. It's a beautiful blue black. I know, don't trip. I am expanding my palette. The other star of the show is Seth Apter's Eyes Ink Dye Spray in the tea. And if you'll notice, I put it in a water brush pen, and now you'll see how I use it later. Next up on the great supplies is one of Patti Parrish's stencils. It's called Cave Etchings. You can find it on iStencil. All right, so now the fun begins. There's something quite enjoyable about this process of selecting papers. I know I began with one design in mind, and then as we traversed, I just sometimes just let things show up. And so here I am just going through the papers and kind of listening to what it is my soul wants to play with. And I start making a selection, and then I pull out some jelly prints that are nearby. Oftentimes, because I escape up to my studio, meaning I get really busy at work and my opportunities to play are limited. So I will use whatever's around me. So now, as I was talking about the therapeutic part, now I'm going to laugh because I'm going to pull out some scissors, but I know that for me, that's not really the fun. The fun and in the process is this ripping. And yes, sometimes I destroy a picture, but there's something about ripping the paper and hearing the crunch and just losing yourself in the process. And for me, this is part of the process. This is part of the removing my head from the conversation and just letting my hands play so that it can talk to my heart. And whatever I need to work out, I'm able to work out. You see, for me, art is less about the pretty and more about the process and letting my soul and my heart have an opportunity to play. So I know you're here for like, okay, no, seriously, Rachel, what are you doing? All right, so what I'm doing is I'm pulling out the pieces that I want to play with, and I'm doing this study on the color blue, and I'll be a whole other video on that. But so I know one of the colors that works well with the color of blue I'm using, and I'm using indigo, is rust. Rust works really well with indigo. So I was really excited to see the rust and the tea stain backgrounds because they go with where I'm currently playing and growing. And so I am picking out the pretty rust pieces. I love Robyn McClendon's intuitive scripting. And so any opportunity that I have to incorporate it, I will. And this month, she gave us some huge pieces of script. So I'm going to use them all up. I really loved this piece of rust right here. Like, I really just wanted to dive into it. And I'm at some point in my life, I'm going to have to actually try this rustic. Oh, what is that? A ruler? Yeah, I will confess, it did rip faster and neater, but who needs neat? I'm going to go back to my hands. Okay, so here's what we call auditioning. And I laugh because I know it will not look anything like this, but this is a part of the process. We put stuff down, we think it looks nice, we say, oh, yeah, I'm going to keep that. And that's what we do, but that's not really what happens. Okay, so these pieces right here are on this amazing craft cardstock and craft paper, if you will. Not a cardstock, more like a paper bag material in a note. And if I remember, I'll put it in the description box, or somebody reminds me to ask the question. I'll let you know what type of paper it is. Anyway, I was doing some jelly printing and some experimenting, and so these pieces are nearby. That's usually what happens when I'm collaging. Whatever's handy and close by gets put on the paper. I think Tiffany calls it her collage or her her giblets or something. Anyway, they're what's nearby and what's handy. And so I am doing the dance here where I put down papers and I try to arrange them and I see what the paper needs and I talk to the paper. If you guys were there, you'd see I literally am talking to the paper and asking what it needs and what feels good, right? And so I know I have to create space to create, so I make my selection and I put it down. I give the appearance as though I've made a decision because so it's not going to look like this. Okay, and then I take a picture. That is a mental note. I would share that with you. Take a picture because usually you don't use it anyway, but anyway, here we go. And we're moving on to step 3. Create the background and glue the collage. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm doing a color study with indigo and blues. And so I pull out a Payne's Gray in a fluid, don't use it. I end up using my Atelier Interactive Indigo. It's actually called Indigo Blue Black. It's amazingly creamy and thick, and I just go for it. I am all about expressive painting. I'm using a catalyst tool just because it spreads really easily, and this is such a yummy thick paint, and it in its full capacity, it's like a dark, deep blue, but when you add a little water, it kind of lightens up. And so I'm taking advantage of that. Oh, here comes the fun. So I just grabbed Patty's stencil. I use some Assess spray, and I know it has to dry. And this is the hard part for me, letting it dry, because you know patience is not really the thing. So I do some smushing. That's what we call that method of painting. I'm really trying to help it dry, but these happy accidents turn out great. So I do some smushing on some pieces that are standing by, and it gets some of that dark blue paint on it, random as I don't know what. And but I'm just trying to dry it out because it's very wet. And so this journal is cotton paper, so it's a beautiful cotton rag type paper, and it holds the water, just holds the water. And so I am going to use my heat tool to try to speed up the process. But how lovely is that indigo, right? And I think I got it at either Jerry's Artorama or Cheap Joe's is where I tend to get my Atelier paint. Um, it comes in a tube or in a jar. I got the jar because, again, why not? No, but I do love, I'm learning to love the color indigo, and I knew I would um, when I was doing 100 Days of Mud Cloth last year. I knew I needed an indigo color, so I had it in my pack. All right, now let's do this. Okay, so remember that picture I took? I don't even refer to it. I at this point am totally just gonna go with the flow and see what happens. And you see me, I'm trying to audition this piece here. I like this piece. I like the weight of the paper. I like the marks on there. I was going to use the door. I had some balance. I put it on one side. I was going to put it on the other side. Create a composition. Yeah. Oh, sometimes you just have to go with the flow and see what shows up. Okay, let's take a minute and just admire that rust paper though. Like, OMG, that's gorgeous. Yeah, this is what we call the dance. Now, I will tell you, as I'm doing the voiceover, it's kind of long, but in the process, it was so enjoyable just to kind of play with the paper. Speaking of paper, I have printed these. I am using, I think, across the board I'm using the onion skin. No, I think across the board I'm using the onion skin. And that's important to note because of the way the onion skin is going to allow some of the deep blue background to come through later. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm creating, like right here with the glue, I'm actually writing notes. I'm thinking intentions. I am breathing in what I need and letting out what I don't want any more of. And so, remember those pieces, those random pieces that I put that paint on? Who knew they would become the star of the show? So, total deviation from what we planned. And what emerged was I really liked the way that the blue was on those pieces because then it tied into the background, helped unify the background and the foreground. That little bitty scrap right there is literally a piece of onion skin that I painted at the last minute on my last project because look, onion skin right now is costing anywhere between 5 to, I don't know. I saw somebody wanted like it was 35 sheets for $30. Okay, anyway, details and layers. This is where the fun happens, right? So I think sometimes when people are creating, they just stop. And sometimes the paper painting is done. But I'm often of the belief that, sometimes it's the details to bring a piece together. Now, as I mentioned, that is a water brush pen I have filled up with Seth Apter's dye ink, and I am using it like a paintbrush, and I am coloring the script so that it matches and brings a piece together. And I think what I was going to do was I was going to put some white bubble wrap, but changed my mind. Oh, as I was saying, is the details, right? Like, it's the details that bring a piece together. It's the mark making. It's the individual's mark, right? Like you and I can have the same materials, and you can try to cut it up the same way, but what's coming through is in the details. It's in the layers. It's in the personal marks. It's in the things that make us unique. For me, it's in the slowness. It's in the pausing. That's why these dots, I make these probably on every piece of art I create. It's because in those dots, as tedious as they are, I'm taking a breath. I'm pausing. I'm enjoying the process. I'm in the now, in that moment. That's what those dots mean to me. They mean stop, be present. Make all the little bitty dots as long and as tedious as they are, but enjoy the process and to trust the process. You'll see me audition my white pen around. Here I'm writing some notes and creating some balance with my composition, making sure the eye can move around the paper. But I tell you that now as I look back, but I don't remember that's what I was thinking. Like when I was working, I was really just playing with the paper. Okay, so here I'm going to I wanted something. And you see me audition that red right there and realize, no, that's not going to work. But I do like it on that other piece. So we have some material to use next time. Alrighty, so I put those away and I feel like I need something. That's why you see me keep pulling out tools. But again, not only enjoy the process, but trust the process. And sometimes just step back and say, you might just be finished. So I think I realized that what's always for me is you got to put some stamps on the page, create some depth. Layers create depth and they move the eye around. And if you know my art, I'm very into textile art. And so creating these little marks um, help unify the piece. And bring it all together. I hope you enjoyed this process. I would love for hear your feedback and comments. Please like and leave a comment and take a close look. At the very end of this video, after you subscribe, um, I show some more pictures. Oh, by the way, if you go back to, if you check out the description box, in addition to downloading the printables for the month of May, I also have some free printables on my site, on my Teachable site. I am preparing to launch a course, a free course, and then a paid course. But nevertheless, here you go. Oh, these are the finished products. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. Bye.